Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. But forget the killer robots from the movies. We're looking at the real AI that's already here and asking a pretty simple question. What can it actually do for us right now? So, let's not start with all the techie stuff, the circuits and the code. No, let's start with something we all get, a human need. I mean, what are the jobs we'd actually want to hire technology to do for us?
This one really hits home for a lot of people. I just want someone to simplify my health information. It's this feeling of being overwhelmed, right? Especially when it comes to something as important as our health. And it's not just a feeling. Research from AARP shows this is one of the top things older adults would actually want an AI to help with.
And it goes way beyond just health info. I mean, look at this data. It's all about making life easier. People are really interested in AI for practical things. We're talking huge interest, over 70% for stuff like translation services or home monitoring. It's all about getting real, tangible help in our day-to-day lives.
Okay, so that brings us to the big question, right? When we ask an AI to do one of these things, to simplify a doctor's note or translate something for us, what is actually happening in there? How does the machine, how does it think?
All right, let's get into it. To really understand how AI can be our personal helper, we've got to pop the hood and take a look at this so-called digital brain. First, we have the huge umbrella term artificial intelligence, or just AI. This is the big idea of creating technology that allows computers to act like humans think, solving problems, making decisions, that kind of stuff. Now, nestled inside that giant concept of AI is something called machine learning. And honestly, this is where the magic happens. It's the secret sauce. Instead of a programmer telling the machine what to do for every single task, the system learns on its own, just by chewing through massive amounts of data and finding the patterns inside it.
And then, right at the very heart of machine learning is the neural network. And this is so cool because it's literally modeled on our own brains. Just try to picture a vast galaxy of glowing lights, like stars, all connected by these shimmering pathways. Each one is firing off information to the next. It's this incredible, complex web that lets the AI see and understand patterns that we might never even notice.
So, you've got this digital brain full of stars. How does it go from that to actually learning how to chat with us, to understand our questions and, give us answers that actually make sense? Well, it's basically a three-step dance. First, you have the input. The AI is fed a truly mind-boggling amount of text. Think books, articles, basically the whole internet. Then comes the process. That neural network gets to work, analyzing all the connections between words, the context, the grammar, the relationships. And finally, the output. After seeing all those patterns, it learns how to generate its own sentences that sound, human. A good way to picture it is like a student who has read pretty much every book in every library on Earth. It doesn't just know definitions. It starts to understand the deep connections between all the ideas that have ever been written down. So that's the theory. But what happens when the rubber meets the road? How does all this technology actually hold up when you put it to the test with real people? Well, there was this fantastic study from the University of Michigan that did just that. Researchers used an AI to write thousands of unique text messages. The goal? To motivate adults over 40 to get a little more active. I mean, talk about a real-world helpful task. So what were the results? Honestly, they were pretty amazing. The participants rated nearly 50,000 of these messages, and about 94% were considered good quality and culturally on point. That is a massive success by any measure. And this is a really big but. What about that other 6%? That's where we see the AI's big weakness. This quote from one of the participants just says it all. The AI's suggestion makes perfect sense generally, but for this one person, it completely misses the mark. And this really gets to the heart of the challenge with AI right now. It is incredible on a broad statistical level. It can create things that work for almost everyone, but it still struggles with that personal touch because it doesn't actually know you. It's missing our individual context. So, this gap between what works for the crowd and what works for the individual, it leads us straight to what is maybe the most important part of this whole conversation. How do we actually build trust in a technology that's this powerful, but also imperfect? Okay, first we have to talk about the risks. AI can be used to create some seriously convincing scams. We're talking fake emails, even voicemails that sound exactly like someone you know. Staying sharp and vigilant is absolutely key.
And that same tech that writes helpful messages, it can also be used to spin up misinformation that looks and feels completely legit. It's just another reason why we have to keep a healthy bit of skepticism and always, always check the source.
And here's a really tricky one, bias. See, AI learns from the world that we humans have created, and that includes all of our flaws. So if the data it learns from has biases in it, well, the AI's answers can end up biased too. It's a huge challenge, and developers are working hard to make these systems as fair as they can be.
So, to fight these risks, the whole industry is trying to focus on building what they call trustworthy AI. And it's all based on a few key ideas. Making sure that it's fair by ironing out those biases, having clear accountability for what it does, making the systems transparent so we know how they work, and, most importantly, protecting our security and our privacy. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's that AI isn't some magic 8-ball, and it's definitely not a replacement for human judgment. What it is an incredibly powerful tool. And just like any other powerful tool, it needs careful, thoughtful human guidance to make sure it's being used in a way that's helpful and safe for all of us.
And that really just leaves us with one last thing to think about. As this technology keeps learning from our world, from our words, our pictures, everything, it really makes you stop and ask, what are we teaching it? What values, what ideas, and what kind of future are we showing it?